Hi. Um, so I'm back with another pregnancy video log. I am currently 20 weeks and 3 days pregnant. I just got back from my 20-week scan, and it was definitely different than the ones I've had before. Went by myself and, had to wear a mask and gloves, and everyone's masked, so I don't know what anybody looked like. um, but it was good. It was so fun to see the baby. And, I always feel like the 20-week anatomy scan is like, this sort of moment where you can see everything and connect a little bit more to your baby and your body. You might be feeling kicks now, and I am feeling kicks. Maybe that's because I'm, third time pregnancy. But I've been feeling them a lot lately. But, they're subtle. They're like flutters and not the kicks that I'm going to feel later on, where you see like a foot sticking out of your belly a little bit. I used to have dreams when I was pregnant with Esme, because she would kick so much, and I would dream, about her like foot popping on the other side of my belly. It was very bizarre. I had the weirdest dreams with both of them. And Wyatt, I dreamt that I was pregnant with golden retriever puppies, and so I definitely had a lot of movement happening while I was sleeping, or trying to sleep at least. But let's see, it's been a few weeks actually since I've checked in here. We released our Zen Mamas book last week, and it's definitely a really interesting time for us to be doing something like that. I mean, obviously this was planned so long ago. But we had sent it out to a bunch of friends and such before the book was released. And we had a lot of friends that were pregnant who were writing us and just saying, this is so great right now, because, we're in a time when us like pregnant moms are kind of going through this by ourselves. We usually can bring a parent or a friend or partner or, somebody with us to these appointments. And, visualizing going into birth, you're thinking about like who's going to be with you and your support system, and, that kind of aftermath of postpartum care and all of that. And, our friends have been telling us that being able to connect to the book and have that there is really comforting for them during a time where, they're alone in a lot of this. So we're very grateful for that, because, our intention when we were writing the book was to sort of give you like, it's almost like reading something, like talking to a friend. We're giving you information that we learned, and we're giving you, our like mentors' advice and friends. We have friends who contributed stories, and then our own personal stories. And it's, for us, it's like, this is a bunch of information, and we hope that it helps you and comforts you, and take what works for you and leave what doesn't, So that was kind of going through our minds the whole time when we were writing. And I think timing wise, it coming out when it has, maybe there was some sort of I don't know, like it was, good timing for people who need it. So our book came out last week, and it's very exciting. And, now we're just sort of, I'm, just in this pregnancy, trying to do things that make me feel good, because it's very different than any other pregnancy, obviously, because of what's happening in the world and circumstances. And so, I think I'm spending a lot of time playing with my kids, and I'm still working from home. But, I think that it's really important during this time, especially, I'm at the 20-week mark. So halfway through, and feeling the weight of the baby now because my belly is much bigger, and feeling its effects on my body. So I think something that we always talk about is like really paying attention to how your body is feeling. And if your body's telling you it's time to sit down, like if you can, you should try to sit down and rest a little bit. My feet, I've been saying for the last week, my feet are on protest. They're not very happy with me right now. A lot of being up on them, cooking and, cleaning and playing and being outside. And I think that the extra weight, because I've, definitely put on, let's see, so probably 15 pounds or maybe even more. I usually put on a pretty good number during pregnancy. So I think my pregnancy with Wyatt, I put on something like 50 pounds or whatever. And then with Esme, I stopped counting when I got up to maybe 60 pounds of weight gain. So I got a little ways to go, but I can start to feel the weight of it all. But, I think this second trimester, 20-week mark, I've got more energy. So my body's also telling me it wants to do more. So, I'm trying to get in a walk every day. And currently my husband and I both work from home. So we take turns, So like I'll go for a walk and listen to my podcast that I want to listen to, which is usually the daily, so I can get all my news information. And then, I get back and he'll do a workout or he'll do whatever he needs to do. And then he and I usually have calls and such where we have to switch on and off throughout the day. But it's, it's good. And I feel good, and I'm trying to check in mentally and physically. And this is kind of that super happy place time at 20 weeks where you're, feeling baby and have that second wind after the first trimester. And it's before the third trimester where it gets just a little bit, everything gets a little heavier. So, for anyone else who's kind of around the same time as me right now, if you have any questions or anything you want to chat about, you can leave me a message here in this post or on your Zen Mamas direct message. I'm going to show you my belly because it keeps growing. My baby is measuring about a week ahead, and that's about normal for me because Wyatt was like almost 10 pounds and Esme was 11 pounds when she was born. So, it was interesting. I went in for the 20-week scan today, and the doctor, I was telling him, and he's not my normal doctor. He's like one of those anatomy scan doctors who they do all the genetic testing and everything. And he was saying, oh, you have really big babies. Like, have you ever been checked for diabetes? And I was like, yeah, they do the gestational diabetes test for me every time. He's like, well, they'll do it again. And I was like, okay. I think some people just have bigger babies than others. And so far, history has shown that I tend to grow them large. So, I think sometimes you go into a doctor that doesn't know you very well and they say things that are a little fear-inducing. He was kind of eyeballing and giving me the like, wow, that's really, were you checked out for that? And when he heard how big my babies were. And, I think it's why it's so good if you can have a good relationship with your midwife or your OBGYN or your doctor, to always kind of go back to them before you let what somebody else says to you sink in too much. It's nice to go back and say, hey, because he was also talking to me about genetic testing and saying, you know, your husband was never tested for genetic testing. And I was like, well, that's because I tested negative for kind of all the stuff that was on your panel. And he goes, yeah, but, you know, he started giving me like information about why we should both be tested. And I was like, okay. And, you know, some of it was a little bit more fear-inducing. And I, you know, listened and I said thank you. But I remember this happened last time too. And I went to my doctor, my OBGYN, and he was like, look, I don't think there's any reason for it to go any further. For some people, yes, like, you know, if you have a history, but I didn't have a history of anything. So, and I had already been tested and came back negative. So, it's just, you know, it's like you can't always take everything full on from some of these doctors, and appreciate what it is that they do, and that this is their job and their passion to, you know, kind of go down the rabbit hole of testing. But, you know, if I hadn't had a baby yet, I think I would have been kind of scared at some of the things that he said. And also when he's like giving me weird eyes about diabetes and how big my babies are too, like, you know, that probably would have made me feel uncomfortable. But I was like, yeah, it's just how I grow them, apparently. Okay, so, okay. So, there it is. It's my 20-week belly. I'm wearing a doe-in dress. I pretty much just live in dresses because that's kind of all that fits me. Even my sweatpants don't fit very well right now. And I find yoga pants really uncomfortable, and, you know, there's no reason for me to be in jeans on quarantine at the moment. So, just kind of living in my flowy dresses and expanding them as I go along. So I'll come back to you in a couple of weeks. I go and see my doctor again next week. Okay, bye.